Hello, Crusaders. Welcome to our first impressions of Starfield after 65 hours of gameplay. This isn't a full review because we haven't even gotten close to the ending, but this will at least be our first impressions of it after playing 65 hours. To say the least, as everybody's heard, this game is huge. It's very long. It's jam-packed full of everything. Literally just walking through a busy courtyard, you will pick up 5 or 6 quests just because people are talking in the background. Which kind of can feel daunting, but it just definitely gives you a ton of stuff to do, and just about everything you do in here is pretty much worthwhile. I've only come across 1 or 2 small fetch quests, which were the result of go here, buy this person a coffee, or gets this simple item, and then go back to him and return it to him, and that's been for just random like named characters that don't have anything other to tell you than some lore and maybe a little bit about the current state of things, and then have a simple request for you. But the main quests, the faction quests, those have all been very entertaining. I have completed maybe 6 or 7 main quests already, and I completely finished one faction quest line. Everything was super engaging, lots of fun. Definitely a game I would recommend. But it's not without its flaws. Starfield is definitely an exciting, great, brand new IP. Has really good lore in it. Something to definitely sink your teeth in. But this is a game that it's going to take time, and if you don't have the time commitment to put 100 or plus hours into a game, then this might not be the game for you. If you just want a quick jump into, kind of play around, do nothing, and not have to worry about making progress. Technically, you can do that with this game, but this may not be your type of game if you don't want the pressure of having a huge quest list of things to get done. But this does do a few things very right that the past Bethesda games have made mistakes on. One, you don't have a cluttered map full of a bunch of icons like how Skyrim is. By the time you've come close to finishing it or done a ton of quests, you have a map cluttered with icons of every little thing you've ever been to. Where here, only things really marked on the map are either outposts that you build or specific locations, and they don't take up a ton of the map. The other big issue I think that was kind of missed here was localized maps. It comes off, like we said in our podcast, more of a looks like they had an idea that failed and they couldn't come up with a good solution for it, and they just kind of left the failed semi-topography map within there. As Courtney said, some of a good solution would have been just putting like a mall directory sign in any of the cities kiosks, so you can actually just see the layout of the land. Even if it wasn't a map that you could take with you, at least there was a map somewhere that you could look at and see how pathways connect and where things go. Whereas as it is now, it is more immersive that you do have to walk around and kind of learn the city yourself. But it's clear that they had an idea for a map, and something just didn't work out, and you ended up with a big blue screen with just where your location is and the fact that there's something north, south, east, west of you, and that's it. It would have been nice to have the layout of the streets and where this fast travel subway station's at and all that. The other issues that are with this game is people have complained about the menu interface, which I don't think the interface is that bad. I think the interface is missing some things in some areas. In your own inventory, it's very good at telling you what things are, what they do, what 8 items help heal what, how much they heal, if they do have any other effects. Very good at telling you what your weapon stats are, what effects legendaries will have, this and that. But when it comes to the shipbuilding process, it doesn't tell you anything really about the weapons or the modules other than base stats. And for the most part, that's not a big deal when it comes to like, hey, I need cargo, or I need a shield generator, or I need a docking bay. It doesn't that you don't need a whole lot. It's pretty self-explanatory. You know how much shield your shield generator is giving you, right? But when it comes down to building a weapons array and different weapons do different things to ships, and some are better for things like boarding and whatnot. It would be nice to know that, hey, this is the difference between a laser weapon and a particle beam weapon. This is the difference between this is what is considered a ballistic weapon. This is what's considered an EM weapon. And what does an EM weapon do differently than a laser weapon or a particle beam? This has all been kind of deciphered from the stats that you get, or EM weapons have electromagnetic damage. Well, what exactly does that do? It doesn't tell you in the weapon description that electromagnetic damage is used to disabled ship systems so you can easily board them. It doesn't tell you that a particle beam is a combination of ballistic and laser. You just have to kind of get that, infer that from the fact that they do high damage to both, where lasers do high damage to shields and ballistic does high damage to hull. Those things would have been nice to explain. It would have been nice to kind of have it categorized as I think right now it's kind of categorized from like A, B, and C class weapons. It would have been nice to be able to categorize it either that way, or categorize it as here's all your ballistic weapons, here's all your particle, here's all your lasers, here's all your EMs. That way it'd be easier to build out your fire set. Base building as well is done fairly easily, and doesn't feel as important as it did in Fallout 4, where Fallout 4 they constantly kind of remind you about your settlement, that you needed to come back because it's being attacked and all that. Your outposts here don't get attacked. You don't have to run back to them and constantly defend them. You can basically go through the whole game without doing ship building, without doing outpost building if that's not what you want to do, or you can spend your whole time doing those things or exploring. That's why this game is getting such high praise, is because people are playing it much like they play games like Minecraft or No Man's Sky. You can play through the story like a regular RPG if you want to, or you can play it as like a chill game, like, hey, I just want to wander around and explore planet, see what's there, find what aliens are there, go ahead and do that. Or hey, you just want to spend hours figuring out how to build the perfect ship or the coolest looking ship that you want to do, or you want to recreate your favorite spaceships from sci-fi media, you can do that. Or you can spend your time designing a base, or you can go through the many different stories that they lay out here for you. So far from what I've played, I've done over 30 activities, quests, which are like kind of the side little small radiant quest. Some of them lead into being bigger side quests. Some of them are just small, like I said, fetch quest. Which I've only found 2 technical fetch quests while going through those activities. Completed the pirate and UC quest line. I say it's one faction quest line because basically it's 2, but you basically have to pick a side by the end of it, which was done very well, very good. I'm excited to jump into some of the other quest lines that are there that haven't necessarily unlocked or explored yet. That should be very interesting. Like I said, this game just has a lot to do, but the way it's presented to you is not in an over daunting way like Assassin's Creed Valhalla or Odyssey, where you open up a map and it's a million different icons all over the screen that you need to check off. It is kind of very simplistic in its look, so that you don't feel overwhelmed, and then when you are tracking one quest, that's the only quest marker you'll ever see on your screen. Like I said, the only thing that is daunting is if you look at your missions list, that can get ridiculously long. And it's nice that they are able to filter it and you can truncate it. But that is one of the daunting things of here's the giant list to check off. But when you go through the game, you don't feel like you're have just a million things to do. You have to try and keep track of which icon is which and whatnot. The other kind of complaint that I've seen is it's a fast travel game, and I think a lot of people debate back and forth between that. Now, I've played games like Elite Dangerous and No Man's Sky that give you the full space travel, the full land on the planet, take off from the planet, docking to the station, and pilot out of the space station yourself type of thing, instead of automatically doing those things for you. But I'd say one of the first things people do in Elite Dangerous is they get the auto docker modules so that they don't have to dock their ship into the space station. It just automatically does it. So those games have those options to go out and do the long, full process, but you spend your time in those games building up money and credits to buy things so that you don't have to do those menial tasks that they get taken care of for you. Um, the other thing is in those games when you are doing these traveling from planet to planet and you have to do it manually, you're literally sitting there waiting for a countdown clock to go down for your destination. That can be anywhere between 30 seconds to maybe a minute 30, depending on the system you're in and how it's designed. Uh, so yeah, those games give you the full experience, but you spend time probably sitting there looking at your phone while you're waiting for you to get to your destination. Where Starfield basically cuts that out and lets you kind of fast travel everywhere, but also lets you do it in however immersive way you want. You can either constantly go to your menu, pull up your map, pick a location, and boom, fast travel there. Or you could just make sure you have your mission selected, look for the icon, and fast travel kind of in world by turning on your grav drive and going, and then waiting for your planetary scan, and then going into the planet map and picking a landing zone, whether you're picking one in a city or you're picking a random one anywhere else. That's the other big freedom of this game, is that even on hubs planets that are where the big cities are, you're not relegated to just sitting in this landing in that city. You can go land anywhere on that planet you want and just explore the planet itself. Also, a lot of the cities, except for Neon, have the ability to just leave the city and wander off into the wilderness and see what's out there. That's something when a game has this much content in it, you would think that maybe the cities might be walled in, or if they're in a small little biome, you can actually go fairly far away from major cities just to explore the planet itself as is. Neon's the only one that you can't, because it's basically like an oil rig in the middle of an ocean. But what you would be surprised is that areas in that map where you're higher up on the platform and you can literally see the landing platform. I did an experiment. I jumped off a ledge and used my jetpack and landed on the path, the walkway to my ship, just fine from like the third or fourth level. Something that normally would just be, hey, cool, you can see where you were from this viewpoint, but if you jump off normally you would just die. So Starfield is definitely very vast and has the freedom to go just about anywhere. Like I said, after 65 hours, I'm not even close to finishing the game. The last thing I will say is that there's tons of videos out there telling you how you should play or what you should do first or this and that. And honestly, the game's going to be more fun if you just experience it yourself. The only guidance that I'd say this might be on point is if you are really interested in just learning the lore of the world right away, joining the Vanguard immediately will get you that background, because the first thing that they do in that quest line is walk you through a museum of history, and it kind of lays out all the factions, the universe history, and gives you all the lore up front. Now after that, you don't have to continue any more Vanguard missions. You can just go off and do whatever you want and come back to it later. But if you absolutely need a starting point and don't like the concept of you can go off and do anything, I suggest doing that as soon as you come across it. That way you can actually see and feel what the lore of the universe is, and then also has a good practice simulator for the space flights if you want to practice at that without risking dying and whatnot. But so far right now, I give this game a 9 out of 10. It has a few tweaks that would be nice to fix. The mods that have come out, haven't seen any that have really fixed the concerns that I've listed. They've just changed UI style or added visual icons, which honestly have just muddied up the UI even more. I think simplistic is the best way to go about it, but they just need to give us better filtering, more information on some items, especially when it comes to ship building or outpost building. And other than that, so far the game has been just perfectly fine. We'll give you a completely full, absolute review once we completely beat the game, which might be months from now, but this is the initial previews, and if you haven't decided to play it on Game Pass, we're definitely giving it a 9 out of 10. It's something you should experience. It's something that you can play any way you want to play, and there's no agency or rush pushing you to try and get to the end of the story as fast as possible. In fact, I would suggest just play it as slow or as fast as you want. You'll experience it however you want, and that's exactly how these games should be played. Again, you can find us with our podcast, the Nerd Crusade podcast, on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcast at. And be sure to comment and let us know what you're thinking of Starfield at www.nerdcrusade.com. And please feel free to like and subscribe anything you find of our stuff on Twitch at the Nerd Crusade or YouTube, the Nerd Crusade. Okay, so we will catch you next time. That's our initial impressions on Starfield, and have a great day.